Hello and welcome back to another episode of Mystery Red Reads. It's a little bit interesting because today I am actually in carpool trying to do a read. I don't know how far I'm going to get. I don't know what kind of interesting sounds are going to come up in the background. I don't know what's going to happen here, but we're giving it a go. I may just have to pause and put it to the side and pick it up when I get home, but I'm digging in. So, this is my disclaimer. This beta read in concrete is at the author's request. This video is for learning purposes. Today we're doing a beta read and concrete of a memoir. I'm taking a look at chapter 3 for Ant. I believe it's Ant. Hang on. Where's my notes? Yes. Looking at chapter 3 for Ant. We skipped chapter 2 at their request, and chapter 3 is going to be a public video, and chapter 4 is going to be a private video. So we're just going to dive right in. I will include a link to my review of chapter 1 in the description, and we're going to get going. We agreed privately between me and Ant that they would change the color of the words that were colorful words that YouTube does not prefer, and that I would just kind of keep an eye out for them because I needed to read them for context clues, and yet I need to not say them. So I'm just going to kind of either fudge it to change it to a more appropriate, acceptable word, or just skip it and keep going. All right, chapter 3, your most confusing exit yet. To my fisherman buddy, you were already drunk and wearing your red sweatshirt the night we met. My memory pairs it with a blue ball cap. I'm not sure if that's accurate or a detail I've implanted from a photograph of you in the same hoodie. You were from Florida and fit this stereotype I had formed to a T. I lumped Floridians in with New Yorkers as abrasive, arrogant, and rude. This wasn't entirely fair, but it brought out some sarcastic humor in me that deflected my own insecurities. I really don't remember much of the evening until I approached my neighbor to score some. I picture us sitting on the curb by the carport under the power lines. The lines crackled in the moisture of the fog, somehow making the city feel bigger. The ship you worked on was docked north of the landing, and you'd spent the evening downtown for a friend's birthday. You arrived in a whirl of energy, and we were an intellectually stimulating match. We talked of philosophies, broken hearts, and the care packages your mom would send you filled with baked goods. That detail especially stands out to me now that you're gone. I gotta pause to wonder, in what context do we mean gone? Gone as in the relationship is over, or gone as in this person has not survived? So I'm using that thought. That's my first reader thought. Actually, it's probably my second, because it was reading well, so I wanted to keep going. My first thought was how wonderfully it's reading. I'm loving your voice. And I love the reminiscing. I think we had a word echo, but it kind of worked for me, so I didn't point it out at the moment, but I do want to observe that I did catch it. If I can just find it now. Let's see. Let's see, where did it? See how well it blended in. I noted it, but I didn't say anything because I wanted to keep reading. Oh, darn, now I'm bothered. There it is. It's so slight, and it really kind of works. I'm going to point it out because I noticed it, but I'm just pointing it out. It actually is working. It didn't bother me enough that I almost forgot where it was, but my mind did catch it. But then again, you have to keep in mind that my mind screens for that. So what I'm talking about is the echo on the word lines so closely together. I picture us sitting on the curb by the carport under the power lines. The lines crackled in the moisture of the fog, somehow making the city feel bigger. If you wanted to change it so that you didn't have two words that are the same so closely together, you could say they, because you're literally leading up here with this is what you're talking about. And we can just try it really quick, and then I'm going to move on because things are going well. I picture us sitting on the curb by the carport under the power lines. They crackled in the moisture of the fog, somehow making the city feel bigger. The ship you worked on was docked, so that I think that worked a little bit better. That's my suggestion there. We're going to keep going. Back in my room, you dropped the red sweatshirt beside my bookcase. A smile spread across your face to watch my eyes land on the flames of your rocket tattoo. Without missing a beat, you removed your white t-shirt and added it to your growing pile on the floor. The sleeve had been covering T-Rex's head. Reptilian eyes and sharp teeth peeked over the missile that was launching the feared predator up your arm. With confidence to match your own, I said, "Oh, I wonder if there should be a comma there, since we're getting ready to speak." I'm going to note that I think a comma might need to be there, and I'm going to start over in the sentence. With confidence to match your own, I said, "I have just the book for you. See the little white one, T-Rex trying?" Your eyes followed my finger toward the shelf, landing on the title with amusement. Flipping through those pages is one of the few times I ever remember you laughing. The warmth in your brown sugar-colored eyes. Okay, I'm going to pause. Someone said to me a while ago, and if I was to show you some of my first pieces, when I very first, I think my writing really started to grow when I started writing fan fiction and talking to people and joining conversations like the discourse that we have. And one of the things someone pointed out to me, and I think they actually pointed it out in like a comment they posted about my story, was how well the story was going, and then they were really irked by me saying the color of someone's eyes, and then proceeding to say colored in addition to it, and then saying eyes. And I was like, what? So then I tried it. I was like, okay, I'm just going to take the word colored out and just say it and see how it sounds. The warmth in your brown sugar eyes softened the angles of your face. Charged from the... I boldly stood in front of you, biting into my bottom lip in an attempt to still my jaw. Your fingers worked. See, it read just as beautifully, if not better, just taking that word out. And the reason it bothered this reader, and this was a reader comment to me, and if I go back, I have not edited a lot of my older fan fictions, and I've decided kind of for the time being not to, because I can refer back to them and use them for examples to show you the things that I've learned along the way. Why it irked them is they were like, it's redundant. You've already stated the color. And I was like, oh, like I had emerald. I think one of my characters that I was working with had emerald eyes. And I was like, emerald colored eyes. And they're like, emerald is green. I think I even said like emerald green colored eyes at one point, and they were like, this is redundant. Take out the green because the emerald implies the color, and then you know that you're talking about a color because you're describing it. You don't have to say what the word colored because you're attaching the color to the noun itself, if that makes sense. And so it was actually a reader that gave me that, and I was like, you know what, I think they're right. And so when I applied it, it did work, and that is all I'm going to say about that. We're going to move on. I'm going to pick up from where we left off, right there. Your fingers worked to slide the leather belt your ex had given you through the hoops of your chino pants. Recalling the sentiment of this gift, you went on to explain how she betrayed you and you weren't interested in love. Great, we're on the same page, I assured you. Just no feelings. In complete honesty, I delighted in the feeling of being wanted by someone as good-looking as you. It's interesting. I'm going to pause. I'm just going to note as a reader thought. We want to be wanted. And when we're longing for something in our lives, or something is missing, or we have trauma, or even when we're traumatizing ourselves, all we want is to be wanted at the very foundation of it. So I can relate. This is so relatable. Very good. Very, very good. It's interesting to realize as I write this how sad you were under the Price is Right contestant charisma and Florida pride. My heart was wounded too. We both dulled the edges of our thoughts with liquor and related too deeply to song lyrics. The difference was the more we drank, the more forthcoming I became. You, on the other hand, grew in brooding misery. Mystery? Grew in brooding mystery. But we'd also been slowing down on the blow, the morning and come down looming on the horizon. Interesting. Okay, I had to turn off my car so I don't cook. So if we hear strange sounds, I'm in a very strange neighborhood, so we're just going to see what happens. All right. I was mad when you left. Not at all because you were leaving out because you needed... Wait. I was mad when you left. Not at all because you were leaving, but because you needed money for a lift. So we've got echo twice. We got because in here, which is a word echo because we have it twice. And so I'm kind of musing. Also, I wanted a comma in there, so I kind of had two things happening for me in this sentence. I was mad when you left. Not at all because you were leaving. Like, I wanted a comma there, but because you needed money for a lift. So, like, he has the nerve to ask you to pay for his ride. Okay. Okay. So, the sentence is fine. I needed a comma in the one little spot. But I also kind of want to swap out one of the becauses for something else. So, maybe rewording it or rephrasing it. We could toy with it for a second. Let me see if I can come up with something for you. Okay, so I have thoughts. You could do a couple things, and I think this is the one that you want to let go of. I was mad when you left, not at all because you were leaving, but you needed money for a lift. Something like, you could just omit the word because, and it still works for me. Another thing is, you could use this as an opportunity. I mean, you said you were mad, but what did that feel like? Like, what was a visceral feeling that you could tie to it? You might be able to tuck it in there or work it in there somehow. Did he ask you or demand the money from you? Because you could use that too. You had the nerve to ask me for a lift, or you had the nerve to ask me for money for the lift, or okay, so that's like if you were outraged. I mean, so you've got some different feelings that you can add to how you phrase this. It also worked. Simple fix was to just take it out, and it still worked the way it was. Very minimal work on that. Sometimes I prefer it when I don't have to do a whole lot of thinking and being stuck on one sentence for an extended period amount of time, and to just do a quick fix and move on if you're satisfied with it. My recommendation is going to be to take out the echo. That's the one I would let go of. You could simply just remove it and move on, or you could rephrase kind of this part right here and maybe imply your position on it. Did he ask? Did he demand? You can say that. You'd be like, you had the nerve to ask for money for a lift, or you demanded money from me for a lift. Something like that would also work for you. Those are some options. I'm going to keep going. I'm sure I look like the cat who caught the canary, swiping to show off your photo in the break room the next day. My lips curled in a coy smile, watching my coworkers erupt in excited gasps. Basking in the reactions, I glided down the hallway on my way back to my desk, as if I were on a catwalk. Needless to say, our casual night together was mutually beneficial. Despite the attraction, I had no intention of seeing you again, but a Tuesday night rolled around and the other person I had drunk dialed didn't answer, setting a pattern in motion. When we did hook up in the months to follow, we talked candidly about our alcoholism. As time went on, the resulting shame of my addiction grew heavy. I remember telling you on the phone how my limbs felt weighted down. It was an effort to drag my body through the day. Maybe I was just tired. As I withdrew into a dark loneliness, you said, yeah, I had to pause because a scooter just came down the road. I'm in a very interesting neighborhood. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. It's one where you kind of have to pay attention to what's going on around you. As I withdrew into dark loneliness, you said you wanted to come build me a blanket fort with surprising sincerity. We had said no feelings. Oh my goodness. Reader alert right now. I'm like, oh my gosh. So this action, and then you immediately said we had said no feelings. I'm envisioning him behaving a little more lighthearted with a surprising sincerity comment. I'm seeing him suddenly, you're feeling really down, and all of a sudden he's doing something very childlike and playful, and that immediately would start feelings. Yeah, I can see it coming. I see it coming. I could be wrong, but I just came up, my reader senses perked up. Okay. A relationship between us could never work. You lived on a boat without a car. Neither of us were over the hurt of our previous relationships, and our respective drinking habits were unruly. Oh my gosh. We were, okay, bleep. I had neglected to see how much you actually cared. A tent of colorful blankets with string lights would have been a haven for your spirit just as much as mine. Oh my gosh, I love that. Squid season opened. The green lights were visible from shore, and I'd think maybe a comma right there. I think a comma. Grammarly is suggesting thought. Let's see what happens. The green lights were visible from shore, and I'd think, how funny that we were so close as a bird flies yet endlessly far away. We'd let so much time elapse writing each other off, and then I'd call or you'd text, and we'd jump right back in the sheets. You had tickets to see minus the bear on their farewell tour. Did I want to go? Part of me really wanted to go. Okay, I'm a little frustrated, but not with you at all. This is reading beautifully. It deserves peace and quiet. My phone is blinging. I'm in Carville. There's all these cars driving around, and I'm just so frustrated. Oh my gosh. I want to read it again. I don't want to be interrupted. I don't want any background sounds. And so I'm just going to stop here and pick it up when I get home, and I can get, maybe some quiet if I shoo all my peoples away, because it's so good. It's so, so good. Okay, I want to reread that from this paragraph again because there was so much noise and because I wanted to kind of give it more attention. I have so many beeps and chimes and alarms. Okay. Squid season opened. The green lights were visible from shore, and I'd think, how funny that we were so close as a bird flies yet endlessly far away. We'd let so much time elapse writing each other off, and then I'd call or you'd text, and we'd jump right back in the sheets. You had tickets to see minus the bear on their farewell tour. Did I want to go? Part of me really wanted to go. Okay, so that reads beautifully, and I love it. There were some tricky parts where I thought maybe a comma would help, and I'm going to point those out. First, I think we need a comma after that, and I think we already talked about this one right here, where this is Grammarly, which is just on my laptop, so it automatically just looks for things as I'm reading any document, including websites. It's super great. A little bit of sarcasm. Okay, so I don't know if I needed it to be I'd think it could be I'd thought, but maybe, let's just try it. The green lights were visible from shore, and I'd thought, how funny that we were so close as a bird flies yet endlessly far away. I think either way is okay. I just needed a comma after the word think. So whatever you prefer. So let's see. We'd let so much time elapse writing each other off. See how I'm like kind of pausing between these parts? I needed the pause so that I could read the sentence as beautifully as it sounds when you read it. To make it sound that way, I put pauses in that I needed. So let's go over where those are. It does not mean that they are correct. And when I say pause, I'm referring to a comma. I'm going to tell you where I needed one. It does not mean it's correct because that is not my forte. We'd let so much time elapse writing each other off. So I've kind of paused here. I've also paused here. And then I'd call or you'd text. I'd put a comma here and we'd jump right back in the sheets. Yeah. So just like, I think that was like 2 or 3 commas that I would have added. I just kind of paused when I was reading that. And I think it would have read a little bit better, or it read well as I put them in myself. So I like the way it read. I'm not going to recommend any changes. You probably could. A lot of times, one of the things I'll screen for when I'm looking at a document is this particular combination right here. I think that might be one of the things that's kind of on my little list of things to look for, because a lot of times it indicates I could say something, I could rephrase something or rework it, and it'll read tighter, cleaner. And that could be the case. But I'm liking your voice in this paragraph, so I hesitate to make that recommendation. Yes, this is a little bit of a long sentence, and yes, it is wordy. Yes, you could probably break it up into 2 sentences if you wanted. I like what it says. I like your voice. And so I hesitate to make a recommendation to change too terrible much about it. When a lot of times another thing I'll look for is if I have the word and twice in a sentence, I probably need to break it up. So, at the most, I might suggest breaking it into 2 sentences. I wonder if these things would work as little statements. We'd let so much time elapse writing each other off, period. I'd call or you'd text. and we'd jump right back in the sheets. I know how you're giving a pause here, though. Like by saying and then, it puts distance between when you made this lapse. But then again, you've said that time lapses. So because you've stated it, it's implied. Well, no, that is not correct. Because you've stated it, it is so. We let so much time elapse writing each other off, period. Then I'd call or you'd text and we'd jump right back in the sheets. So you could take out the word and, start the sentence with a capital T here, and then you got a new sentence. And so we've broken it into two. It reads the same. You've just done away with one of the two ands, and you've also resolved the issue of having and then in your sentence. So let me know if you have any questions about that, or, do whatever you want with it. Take it, leave it. You're still saying the same thing, just a little bit tighter, and still keeping your voice. You had tickets to see Minus the Bear on their farewell tour. Did I want to go? Part of me really wanted to go. I love it. Love it. Okay. We're going to move on. My chair is squeaky. I am glad to be home after 2 hours in a car. Don't ask. Really, really bizarre transportation situations here. Okay. Here we go. We have a little 3 dots. So this could be a passing of time because we're doing a memoir. So I'm assuming we're still with our person, and we're going to pick up here. At one point, you started attending AA meetings at the fellowship hall by the transit center. I had been to a few myself in the park after work. I would sit in my car and dry swallow a Klonopin before tracing the shape of my lips with clear gloss, hands trembling to complete the outline. My blue eyes reflected back in the visor mirror were hauntingly hopeless. Okay, I'm going to pause on this sentence. We made 2 suggestions. I would take out hauntingly. I'm not a big fan of ly words. There's usually something stronger, or you usually don't need them. So we'll reread it without it and see what happens. With your voice, I kind of have 2 suggestions in that. So I'm going to try it and you see how you like it. Because I'm also going to change this word just so slightly. My blue eyes reflecting back in the visor mirror. Hauntingly hopeless. Hopeless. I want to say hopeless. I'm trying to omit were and hauntingly. So we're hopeless. Were hopeless. I don't want to say were either. Hang on. My blue eyes reflecting back in the visor mirror. Hopeless. I kind of wonder if how we can put a pause. All right. So I kind of want to know how we can put a pause there to kind of emphasize the hopeless part. To make it stand out a little bit. My blue eyes. Oh, here. My hopeless blue eyes reflecting back in the visor mirror. I was scared to get out of the car. Yes. Okay, let's try this. We're going to back up 1. I don't know what the protections you have on this. So I always hesitate to make changes on your documents. Some of you guys tell me go ahead and do it. It just makes me so nervous. Okay. We're going to put that right there. I'm not going to say anything and hit enter or anything. Okay. I would sit in my car and dry swallow a Klonopin before tracing the shape of my lips with clear gloss, hands trembling to complete the outline. Hopeless blue eyes reflecting back in the visor mirror. I was scared to get out of the car and walk across the grass to the little community room filled with strangers. The thought of driving home was equally uncomfortable. You'd meet me there with a 6-pack of cider beer, and I'd steam up some artichokes, postponing any intentions of changing our relationship with alcohol. Oh my gosh. Okay. First of all, I love steamed artichokes. Second, wow. Okay, so I like how you've done this. So you've got, hey, I went to the AA meeting. It did absolutely nothing for me, but I went through the motions, kind of. I mean, really, that's where you are here. All right. I sit in my car and dry swallow a Klonopin. Yeah. Okay, so that one line was the only suggestion I think I had, was messing with it just a little bit. If you don't like what I came up with, you could still mess with it a little bit. The problem that I struggled with when I was reading it is I think I think it was actively reflecting instead of reflected. The word reflected stopped me when I read it the very first time. And then hauntingly kind of rubs me the wrong way. I'm not a huge fan of ly words because there's usually something better for them. Sometimes they're fine. I did not want it here. So that out of the only thing that kind of broke the rhythm of your paragraph was this, and I'm not saying to do away with the line, just rework it a little bit. It's still good for you. And I like what you're doing here as you paint your picture. My roommate is pregnant. She needs off the lease. There's no way I can afford this place on my own, I whined. I don't want a stranger off Craigslist. I'm going to have to get out of the lease agreement too. Totally your opinion. You did use a conjunction here, so you could also use one here, especially since you're speaking, and a lot of times that's how we talk, is with conjunctions. That's only my suggestion there. This was a devastating blow. I felt ill-equipped to handle the bump and grind of a reality on a good day. Facing a change of this caliber induced a sense of doom and self-pity that drove me mad. Okay, it reads fine. I'm contemplating it's the situation. So the roommate has gotten pregnant. She wants off the lease. And then you think you want out of the lease because you're not going to be able to afford it and you don't want a stranger. So now you're freaking out because you're not, there's nothing worse than not being able to pay rent. Oh, it's the worst. Oh my gosh, I've been there. Okay. At one point you started, okay, so we're going to kind of AA meetings. We're messing around with this dude and that we know is not good for us, but man, he's pretty. And then our roommate gets pregnant and now she's wanting to get out of the lease. I mean, she's pregnant. She's got a place. Doesn't she need a place to live? I'm just saying. That's a reader response. That has nothing to do with the story. I'm just like, okay. Anyway, we're going to keep going. Okay. Now, drape the blankets and arrange the pillows in an atmosphere of magic. Now, I silently willed you to carry out your cheesy promise. These pleas of forceful urgency boomed only in my head. I was clinging to any source of comfort I could imagine in a frantic protest. Is that, okay, drape the blankets and arrange the pillows in an atmosphere of magic. Oh my gosh, is that the pillow fort? Didn't you say you wanted to make like a blanket fort up here? Yeah. Where was it? Bum. It's back here somewhere. I remember it. He was like wanting to build a fort, didn't he? It was such a childish thing that it kind of stood out. I can't find it now. So was this a nod to that moment? Like, so you're wanting to pretend, you wish you could slip away into a fantasy world and pretend things aren't the way they are. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting here, the impression. Yeah. Okay. And that, I'm wondering if you did you maybe make did you go along with it? I feel like I found it. Okay. So I'm wondering, did he do it? Did he build the blanket fort? It was a blanket fort. Oh my gosh, I just lost it again. There it is, right there. Okay. So I feel like this is a nod to that. Yep. Okay, we're going to keep going. We had a similar twisted humor. Only with you I could spitefully begrudge my roommate for falling in love and getting knocked up. How dare she? I was mortified to return to my parents. A 30-year-old failure. You pulled my hand, slowly guiding me from the couch into my room. The two of you never met, but this didn't stop you from dishing out talk in a show of moral support. Okay, I'm pausing. Is this a different dude than the other? Not the first chapter, but in this chapter, is this a different dude than that? Well, no, because it's the blanket fort reference. So, who is the two that didn't meet? The roommate and this dude? I'm a little confused about who the two people never met. I'm noting the ly words, but yeah. Only with you could I I would take out the spitefully and just say begrudge my roommate. Yeah, I would. Because I feel like you're doing yourself a disservice and using the weaker word. Let's just try it without it. Only with you could I begrudge my roommate for falling in love and getting knocked up. How dare she? Yeah, I just think it sounds better without it. That's just my suggestion. And when it's a super easy fix, like taking out a word, which can sometimes be hard to do if you really like it, I prefer an easy fix over something difficult. You pulled my hand, guiding me from the couch into my room. Yeah, you don't need slowly either. I would ditch the ly words because your voice and your writing is too good to let any of these little words detract or not do your writing justice, in my opinion. So those are my thoughts. Let's see. We are going to, so we have this mix of the roommate stuff happening in the background. And, oh, I hate the idea of returning home. Ugh, I hate that. I've done it. Okay. So we got this stuff going on in the background with the roommate. And then at the same time, you're seeing this guy, and you're kind of like mutually bad for each other, and yet little breaks from reality, escapism, I guess. Yeah. Okay. So those are the vibes I'm getting. So if you are wanting those, you're on point, and we're going to keep going. My parents had a detached studio on their property. Even then, I knew there would be an uptick of scrutiny around my many of my habits. Okay, let's try this one again. Even then, I knew there would be an uptick of scrutiny around I would just say my habits. Yeah. Let's try it. Even then, I knew there would be an uptick of scrutiny around my habits. Our arrangement, not an exception. Got it. I have a lot of regrets around that last night together. It had been months since we'd seen each other. In that time, I met someone I adored, and you had been dating someone too. You spent some time traveling, and we had no business being together. But we couldn't let sleeping dogs lie. I only worked a half day and was sitting smoking on the back of my treehouse. On the deck of my treehouse. Let's look at this one. We're going to look right here. Why am I stammering over this? But we couldn't let sleeping dogs lie. I only worked a half a day and was sitting smoking on the deck of my treehouse. Why do I keep saying back? And sitting smoking. Okay, so you have two ing words right next to each other, and I feel like that's part of what's tripping me up. I don't believe there's any rule against that. It's breaking the rhythm. So let's take a look again. I only worked a half day and was sitting, I think, enjoying a smoke from the deck of my treehouse. Maybe. I only worked a half day and was enjoying a smoke from the deck of my treehouse. Let's try that. I only worked a half day and was enjoying a smoke from the deck of my treehouse. What do you think? Maybe. Okay. The two parts I tripped over were the two ing words next to each other, and my mouth would not say on the deck. It kept saying on the back. Whatever. Anyway, I made a suggestion, and I'm going to keep going. After stringing together some sobriety, I had impulsively picked up a fifth of whiskey on the ride home. What? Wait a minute. Stringing together some sobriety. So is that like implying that intermittently you'd been a little bit sober, and just on this day you worked a half day, you were smoking on the deck of your treehouse, you decided to have a drink this afternoon? I wonder what it was that prompted you to do it this particular day. Did you know that he was in town? Did you know that you were going to see him? We're going to keep going. I didn't want to drink alone. Okay. So at that point, when you made this choice, I wonder what you were thinking it was impulsive, but there had to be a forethought that led you to make the choice. And I wonder what that was. That is my wondering right here. I cannot recall if you told me to put notes in your if I could put notes in your document or not. So I'm just going to note that right here, I wondered what the thought was that led to the impulse. I mean, I guess I on a superficial level, we accept that an impulse is literally something you didn't think through. But I kind of wonder if there wasn't a something on your mind in that moment or in the moments before that led up to that impulse. Almost like the impulse was a reaction to a thought. And so I'm just curious as to what that might have been. Anyway, we're going to keep going. Your boat was docked for 4 days, and you have been thinking of me too. What's more, you bought a used Toyota. The irony is not lost on me that I started into the Jamesons alone while waiting for you to arrive. Okay, so Jameson's is the liquor that you decide to drink. What is... Okay, so the boat was docked for 4 days, and you'd been thinking of me too. What's more, you bought a used Toyota. I'm trying to wonder what the relevance of him buying a used Toyota is. I guess it was a play on the vehicle because, you know, a boat is a type of vehicle and the next one is a vehicle. But I kind of don't see the connection to it. Like what, outside of keeping the rhythm. And your boat was docked for 4 days and you had been thinking of me too. I don't, okay, for some reason this line, I don't understand why it's here. The irony is not lost on me that I started into the Jamesons alone while waiting for you to arrive. Is it ironic that you started into the Jamesons? I guess not. Maybe. No. I don't know. I'm kind of wondering what your thoughts were here. I am. Yes, I am. Maybe I need to know your thoughts, okay? Because there's again, right before you make this decision, there's a thought. And if you knew that, where did he say? Okay, you said he'd been thinking of you too. How did you know he'd been thinking of you too? Are you guys messaging each other? I mean, did he like come in town and then hit you up? Was that what happened? These are kind of questions that I'm having as like reader thoughts, I guess. And also they could be pertinent to the memoir. Like if you start putting in your thought before your action into these spots, you're going to have even a deeper punch because we're suddenly going to know that it's going to show more of what we're getting the story of what you went through. I need the eternal thought right before the moment you made a not so awesome decision, I guess, or not good for you, not healthy decision. So something happened that prompted you to do that. This particular line, I don't understand the point of it or the relevance. I might in the next coming paragraphs. At this moment, I don't. And then, I showed you the two spots where I kind of want to know the thought that comes right before you make this action. And I guess you said that he'd been thinking of you too, so I'm assuming I assume it implies that you were messaging each other or calling each other or something. All right, we're going to keep going. I noticed those scars on your forearms with alarm before slipping into oblivion, unable to retrieve my memory of your explanation. You did, however, revive my consciousness with a line on the plate, a masterful line, stark against my blue plate. What a train wreck. I hated that we were in this situation. Hearts otherwise occupied, adults like children. My parents' anger left you scrambling for a ride, too drunk to drive yourself. This new gal you'd met was willing to come with a friend to get you and the truck. Did she see your arms? Okay, so he's arrived in this truck. So I guess that is where the truck comes into play. And this chick is ready to bend over backwards for him, probably because he's hot. And you've noticed the scars. Okay. You perked up when things got interesting. And you were impressed by it. He was impressed by it. It wasn't good for you together. And I guess it never was, right? I hated that we were in this situation. I do love this. I love this. Right here. Now, I didn't realize that your parents' anger. So did something happen? Did they walk into the back? Did they catch you guys doing this on their property? I mean, why were they mad? it was kind of sudden, or it was kind of sudden to me, or I was kind of surprised that, daggone it, I was surprised that your parents were angry. I mean, I am, but I'm not. I mean, okay, look what's going on. But did something happen? To me, in this paragraph, when I'm reading it, all of a sudden your parents are mad. I'm not super surprised they're mad, but I am surprised in the paragraph that all of a sudden there's mad parents, because yes, this happened, but there was no interaction prior to it involving them. Like, there was no interaction with them, with the parents. This was between you and him, and all of a sudden they're thrown in there, and I'm wondering what happened there. So that's my reader thoughts for this, as I'm curious about what this was about. Okay, we're going to keep going. The next day, my spirit was gone. Looking at where I was and where I wanted to be packed a force that knocked the wind out of me. Okay, my reader thoughts here. Where is it that you want to be? What, when you think about where you wanted to be, what was the visual of that? The next day, your spirit was gone. Right here in this spot, show me a snippet of where you wanted to be. Wouldn't it be nice if, and what does that look like for you? I wish that, what does that look like for you? And what are your feelings that surround it? And then show me this. Yes. Okay, we're going to keep going. Looking at where I was and where I wanted to be packed a force that knocked the wind out of me. Because then you're going to show that contrast. It's going to really pop for you. That's what you need to do right there. Okay. Strung out at work, unable to eat, and consumed with self-loathing, I moved through the day, a ghost of my former self. I was mad when you called, seeing only now that you cared. This happened to both of us, you said. This would be our last conversation. Okay, what was it that happened? I don't exactly know what happened. I know that you were together. He came over. I know that the girl came and got him to drive him home. So I don't know what happened with the parents, and I don't know what the incident was. I know what you were doing, but I don't know how it played out. I don't know the action of it. So I need the action to come between these two paragraphs. And then this is going to make sense right here. Okay, we're going to keep going. We were undeniably bonded by our compulsion to drink. No feelings, just nothing to anyone in the light of day. It happened to both of us. Maybe so. Okay, so is this him talking again and then you answering? I'm kind of wondering if they're also just your thoughts, like you're replaying the words in your mind. And I mean, if they are, you might not need them. You could italicize them potentially and take out the quotation marks if they're internal thoughts of you repeating the things that were said in your mind. Maybe it seems like a style choice. The way I'm reading it now, though, seems like one person talking and then another person talking, and I'm wanting that to be set apart into paragraphs. So, okay, those are my musings on that. We're going to keep going. I hadn't considered all the words exchanged in between the throes of our bodies, entangled together where my memory lapses, literally drinking myself in and out of consciousness. Walking, talking, the switch to my memory in off position. I wasn't present for you, and now you aren't present at all. Okay. So this is a highlight of it because we've already gone over some pieces that are missing. I mean, was there an argument between you? I feel like I'm missing something that happened. There's these things you did, okay? But I'm missing the breaking apart. What was the conversation like? You know, what was the episode? What incident happened that ended this? Because every time you've gotten with him, you've done the same things, but you're not showing me that you argued. You both seemed content to do these things, except, you know, has he chosen this girl and has he vocalized that? Maybe that's what you're talking about. I'm not really sure. Let's see. Okay. I think we had consciousness there and there. So you've got it twice. Now, you are literally losing consciousness. So And it seems to be happening frequently here, but we don't want to be like using the same word every time. So I'm inclined to encourage you to find another way, blacking out maybe. So, some other version of saying that implies the same thing, just because you have it twice and it's one chapter. So that's my suggestion there. And now I'm going to start here again, and I'm wondering about the word literally, but we're going to let it go. Okay, so I'm going to start here, and I'm just going to read through. Literally drinking myself in and out of consciousness, walking, talking, the switch to my memory and off position. I wasn't present for you, and now you aren't present at all. I still check your mom's Facebook page from time to time. I don't cry. I kind of want a comma after that. But I sit in a hypervigilant silence, aware of the pressure growing in my chest as I scroll photos of you. This was your most confusing exit yet. I wonder, as if it matters, if it was, or I've felt a lot of different things about it over the years. Mostly, I kind of want a comma right there, by the grace of God, go I. I'm not even mad at you for dying anymore. I honor you and your grieving mom by appreciating that I lived. I survived myself. I finally strung some days together to get away from that chaos. I'm sorry you couldn't come too. I'm sorry I didn't see your sincerity, your vulnerability, and I didn't realize the depths of your pain because I was too wrapped up in my own. I see you differently today. Because of you, I see me differently today. Okay, so this word echo is appropriate because you've used it deliberately and nicely, and well done. Okay, I think, let's see, I'm sorry I didn't see your sincerity. I'm sorry you couldn't come too. Okay, and all right, so I'm trying to wonder. I'm trying to piece out here. I guess I just don't know what happened in that last time that you saw him. We were undeniably bonded by our compulsion to drink. No feelings. Nothing to anyone in the light of day. It happened to both of us. Maybe so. I hadn't considered. I feel like I'm missing something. So it sounds like you don't know what happened to him. You wonder which one of the two devils got him. Okay. All right. So I like how you ended this one. I think we just need there's a little bit, I feel like there's some context that I'm missing. I have noted for you where that is. I love your voice. I love the rhythm. And I'm going to tell you, I really hate to make suggestions to fill in things and to add things, because I know what that's like when you have something this well written and this tightly done. Like, I don't know how many edits you've gone through here, but you have, for the most part, this is very nice and tight. You have a consistent rhythm. And anytime someone tells me that I have to add something when I've picked every word carefully and put them together consciously, and then I find out that I have to go back and I have to fill in some spaces to, because my reader is missing it context on something, I cringe, because then you have to make all the things you add fit into the overall rhythm, and so that's harder work. And I hate making that recommendation because I empathize with the work involved in it. So I'm sorry for that. But I do think that it's going to deliver a little more punch if you fill in the gaps of the spots where I wasn't confused. I don't feel like I'm confused. I feel like I'm missing information that would help deliver the total package, the whole feeling that comes with each letter. So each letter is like its own little story that is, and all these little stories make up your story, your life story thus far that brought you to this point. And you're doing well at that. But at certain places, there's these wonderings that I think, if we answer the questions, are going to make it complete, if that makes sense. Each one complete. So I am liking how you're doing this, and I love your voice, and you're very good at delivering the feels. And I like, yeah, I'm enjoying this. I am. Obviously not what's happened, but I'm enjoying your writing. Okay. I like your style and your voice and how you've got this going on. And I think I want this for you. Like, I want the feels to be, I hate to say, I want that full impact of the complete feels and experience for you. I want that delivered to your readers, and you're right there. I feel like you're right there. So those are my suggestions for this one. Thank you so much for trusting me with your words. Guys, I'll see you next time on Mystery Red Reads.